Hey everyone, it's Mark here, and it's been a while, hasn't it? I've been making videos on TikTok mostly, and I mainly just use this YouTube channel to post playlists and, just make playlists in general. I tend to forget that I make videos on this account, so I just haven't been posting videos. And the videos that I do post are mainly videos that I made when I was in school and whenever I make a video with my brother while we're gaming, I'll post it on here. But I just don't really make videos much anymore. However, today is a very different story. Something came in the mail today, something I've been waiting for so long. Something that I promised myself that once I got it, I would make a video about it. And since the video I'd probably make would be a lot longer than TikTok would want me to make it, I decided that I would do it on YouTube. My first review in a very long time, probably 2 years coming. And it's a movie, but also an album. So we get my first movie review on this channel and my third CD review on this channel. So, 2 in 1. You better be happy. It is Imaginaerum by Nightwish. This movie is, in my opinion, one of the greatest films I have ever seen. It is fantastic, it is magnificent, all the great adjectives and adverbs you want to throw in, that's this film. But not only that, but it's an album that... it's a movie that just sort of spoke to me in a way that not a lot of movies have. And very recently I have found movies that have. But this was the very first film I saw that really said something to my core. And it's all thanks to the album that this is based on. Oops. The Imaginaerum album by Nightwish. So, this album was, and still is in my opinion, the greatest album ever made. I've listened to this album I don't know how many times, and it still astounds me as to how incredible this album is. And it's the reason that this album is so special that this movie was so fucking good. And so I want to talk about both of them. I want to review both of them and give my thoughts on what I thought about these films and what I think about this incredible day that it's just been bestowed unto me. Look at me. Big fancy words. So before I do that, I want to first review the Imaginaerum album. Since I haven't reviewed an album in 2 years, I think it'd be great for me to get back into the style by reviewing an album. And what better way to do it than to review the album that sparked the creation of my favorite movie. So let's review Nightwish's 8th studio album, Imaginaerum. So this album came out in 2011, they had the movie released in 2012, and they had a live performance in 2013 with Floor Jansen as their new vocalist after Annette fired, quit. There's different sides to the story. But this was their final record with not just Annette Olsen as their vocalist, but also their last album with Jukka Nevalainen as their drummer, as he left shortly before they started making their 9th record, which was titled Endless Forms Most Beautiful, in which Kai Hato was their new drummer. This is a concept album that has practically the same premise as the movie, although the album kind of is a lot more fantasy-like and a lot more in-depth with different elements, whereas the movie just takes kind of key points and just rolls with that, but still does a fantastic job with what it does. But there's some sort of storylines that you could see in these songs that kind of would have been cool to see in the movie, and I am kind of disappointed we didn't get a lot to see in that movie, but hey, it's fine. We still got an incredible movie, but I'm getting too ahead of myself. Let's review Imaginaerum, the album. So the album starts off with a track called Taikatauvi, which I believe is Finnish for the phrase "the magic of winter." And basically, it just sees their bassist Marco Haitala, who I almost shared a birthday with. He's January 14th, I'm January 15th, so we're both Capricorn buddies. But it sees Marco singing in Finnish, practically just singing about how the stage is his child and how every song he writes and composes is this new creature that he's creating, and how it's walking on its kitten paws in the snow. Just very, very poetic and very winter oriented, which is what you'll see throughout this entire album and the entire movie. Is there's a lot of winter aspects, and as a person who's a big fan of winter, I love that. The track blends in nicely to the second song, which was, I believe, the first single they ever released for this album, called Storytime. And basically, it's just a reference to a bunch of different stories, and how life is this incredible story that needs to be told, regardless of you know what type of story it is. Every story needs to be told, and this is a great startup. It kind of gives you this feel of like you're a little kid, you're sitting in the living room or in your bedroom, and like your father or your mother, your grandpa, your grandma, whoever, decides to read you a bedtime story before you go to bed. That's what this song kind of feels like. It captures that essence of sitting in a nice, cozy room as someone you love is telling you a story. Before you go to sleep, you hear the rain tapping on the window, you're all snuggled up and cozy, and you're just imagining the stories you're being told. And it segues into our third song, which is called Ghost River, which, when I first heard this album, that was my favorite song. Ghost River is basically just a fight between God and the devil. You have, you basically have both sides combating each other in this big duo. You have all the beautiful, perfect light, and you have the incredible darkness going toe to toe with each other. They're all colliding together. All forces are becoming one in this big orb of color and violence, and it's an incredible piece for the story, but also it's just a heavy song in general. I would probably put this up there with songs that they've done like Master Passion Greed, where it's just heavy. There's symphonic elements throughout it, but it's mainly just a heavy thrash-inspired song. Well, Ghost River isn't really thrash-inspired, but it does have this feeling of kind of being the part two to Master Passion Greed, which was on their previous record at the time. Ghost River just sounds cool, and I love the segment where you just get this children's choir singing the chorus, just like this triumphant piece, and then the music just soars back up. It's an incredible piece, and one of the things I love about Nightwish is the fact that they can make music orchestrally, and it's just incredible to just listen to and pick apart how genius Thomas Holopainen truly is, and why he is, in my opinion, the modern Mozart. Oh, I'm still recording. Fuck! Next track is called Slow Love Slow, and it's a song that's more jazz and blues inspired. It's very laid back. You have this very smooth sounding song, and towards the end it starts to get a little heavier, and then it dies down and the song ends. And I think Slow Love Slow is probably the most experimental track on this album, as it was a style Nightwish has never done before, which was try to mimic the sound that was used in Twin Peaks, and try to mimic that in a way that still sounds like Nightwish, but something different. And I think Nightwish did a great job with trying to tackle down different sounds and try to incorporate them into this album where it's a unique twist on a style that Thomas enjoys. Um, Slow of Slow also just has one of my favorite uh, moments in the movie, which I know I'm already spoiling the movie, but I can't help it. The fact that this movie and the album intertwine together so perfectly, I had to mention the scene where this song is playing. It's just great. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Next, we get the most Irish song on this album, I Want My Tears Back. Now, I Want My Tears Back is really based off of all the fantasy elements of this album. And it even has a reference to Alice in Wonderland. It kind of feels a little bit like that scene in The Hobbit where they're all in the Shire, they're drinking, they're having a good time. It kind of has that feel. Um, there's also a moment where you hear, I believe it's Troy, singing in Elfish. For some reason, it really comes out of nowhere, but it works so well. And the fact that I'm a big fan of Irish culture, it's just such a fun track to listen to when you get to that part. It's just like, that's fun. That is really fun. And I Want My Tears Back is just such a good anthem. Like, it's one of those songs that you just put on if you're just wanting to feel pumped up, but at the same time, you're just wanting to have fun. You want to drink a couple pints with the buddies and just hang out, dance on the table like, you're a hobbit. It has that vibe, and I really love it for that. Then, we get to the scariest song on this album, Scare Tale, which Thomas said is the Nightwish equivalent to Enter Sandman by Metallica. As someone who loves the Black Album, I was really excited for this one. Scare Tale is one of the most orchestrally perfect songs on this record. You start off very creepy with these almost diabolic sounding children all singing Ring Around the Rosie and this creepy haunted vibe. And then all of a sudden, the Nightwish sound comes in and you feel safe. You're like, I'm not alone. I'm not going to be haunted and killed. I'm safe now. And it's really fun once you get into the middle point of this song, where it just sounds like Disney. You have the composer, who I believe is just Thomas, just messing around with his keyboard, but you have this moment where the song takes a break from being this chaotic song about going to a circus and turns into Fantasia for some reason, and it lasts for about a whole 2 minutes, I would say. And it's by far one of the greatest moments in this album. It's fun, you can't help but just smile every time it comes on, and then it just ends, and you're drawn right back into the song. And it's like, okay, give me more of that. Let's get more of that. And trust me, we will get more of that. The song Scare Tale segues into our next track, which is an interlude, which is titled Arabesque, which is a type of dance. And if you've watched the movie, the arabesque plays a very significant role in the story itself. Arabesque almost has this tribal feel to it. You have the drums, which Yuka is by far one of my favorite drummers. He's definitely in the top 10 for me. And he's just going all crazy with the drums. He's trying tribal, he's blast beating, he's doing all kinds of fun stuffs here. And in this song, he's just, being tribal. He has that just very tribal, very, like you're in the jungle. It has this very caveman vibe to it, and it segues very nicely to one of the Nightwish songs that I pretty much know by heart, which is called Turn Loose the Mermaids. Turn Loose the Mermaids is basically a song that kind of resembles those sort of oriental tracks, those like sort of like old time hymns from like China and Japan, with like the whole culture and a lot of the sort of mythologies behind it, but still bringing in, this more European flair into the mix. And Annette's vocals on this song is so beautiful, and it can only be compared to her style on Medals of Heaven, in my opinion, which is one of my favorite tracks off of the previous album at the time. I feel like if you were to listen to three songs on this record that would feel like one whole song, it'd be Scared Tale, blending into Arabesque, which blends into Turn Loose the Mermaids. Because these three songs feel like one whole extended piece, because they blend into each other very, very nicely. And it's a blend that we wouldn't think would work, but it does. Creepy circus, tribal jungle, mermaids at the shore. It's weird, but it works. Next song on the record is probably the heaviest track on this album, which is titled Rest Calm. Now, Thomas stated that when he was making this track, he was very influenced by a lot of that doom metal style and a lot of the death metal style, especially bands like Children of Bodom, in which he's best friends with the lead singer, who, rest in peace, very, very untimely death. But this song is probably the closest that we get to that almost thrash metal style that we got on Master Passion Greed. And it has Marco sounding very raspy and very gritty on his vocals. And when the chorus drops in, it's just very peaceful. And it's like, wasn't there grit just a second ago? Wasn't there like heaviness a second ago? Now all of a sudden we're in heaven? What's going on here? And it just, you go back and forth. It's like this ride. You get to the high point, but then you forget, oh, we gotta go down now. Because we're up, we gotta go down. And it's just such a great song, and it's one that I enjoy listening to because it's probably the heaviest track on this album. But at the same time, it's one of the best songs on this album. But we still got one more single left. The Crow, the Owl, and the Dove is track 10 on this album, and it was a single that when they released it, they had this competition where people would send in their official music videos, and Nightwish would choose one of them to be the official video, and you can go on YouTube to find the one that won. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Undertale a little bit, but that's just me. But The Crow, the Owl, and the Dove is one of the songs that kind of brings in that softness that we hear in the chorus of Rest Calm and Slow Love Slow. The very beautiful, calm, relaxing melody of Annette Olsen, who I wish we got more albums from in Nightwish, because she was my favorite vocalist within Nightwish. But this song, really in general, is very calm, very relaxing, and it's one of the songs that I just love listening to because of how relaxing it is. It's very heavenly, it's very calming, and Marco has this very soothing voice. And it just goes to show that there's still a calmness in the storm. But that storm is just around the corner. Track 11 is my favorite song on this record, Last Ride of the Day. And this is also Jukka Nevalinen's favorite track on the record, as he was brought in to do a live performance of it back when Fleur was, the drummer, when Floor Jansen was the singer, and they were still in their kind of tour. He came back just to do a song with them, and he did Last Ride of the Day, as that was his favorite track to make, and it just shows. This song is very special. It's very, very exciting. It's very thrilling. And if you love roller coasters, you're gonna love the scene in the movie. I can't help it. I have to. This song has this thrilling element to it that really just takes you for a spin and just feels like you're in a car just zooming down the highway as fast as possible. The wind's blowing in your face. You're just enjoying the ride, and you can't help but just sit there and think, "This is really happening. This is happening." You have soft and calm, and then you get heaviness, but you have a song that feels like you're escaping a villain, and you're riding off into the sky. The villain's right behind your tail. You can't look back because you know something's going to happen. So you just have to look straight forward and hope nothing bad happens to you. But you're just enjoying the ride all at the same time. Incredible song. And Thomas even stated that when he wrote this song, he dedicated it to the people that love riding roller coasters. Because this is their last ride of the day. And I'm a wimp when it comes to roller coasters. I don't really like heights. I do not like heights. But if I was riding a roller coaster with Thomas Holopainen, I probably would feel safe. So yeah. Track 12 is the longest track on this record, ranging at about 13 minutes. There's more than just 13 minutes, but 13 minutes is the maximum I think this track can go. But yeah, Song of Myself, which is heavily inspired by the poem written by Walt Whitman, who, if you know this movie, you know Thomas is a big fan of Walt Whitman, to the point where he technically wants to be Walt Whitman. But Song of Myself always really did something to me, especially because this song is cut up into 4 pieces, and I'm going to name the pieces because I don't know all the names by heart. There's part 1, which is called From a Dusty Bookshelf. Part 2 is called All That Great Heart Lying Still. Part 3 is called Piano Black. And my personal favorite is called Love, which is part 4. Now, these songs are rearranged in this order because the song is so long, might as well have names for each significant piece because they can go well on their own. Like, From a Dusty Bookshelf is technically the first part of this track, and it's pretty much just the intro. There's no singing, it's instrumental. It's there. Then we get to part 2, it's called All That Great Heart Lying Still, which is the first part where the song, like the vocals come in, and it's just such a fun piece. Although my personal favorite part is part 4, but part 3 is also very fun too. Piano Black is kind of very moshy at one point, where whenever Annette says, sometimes the within is piano black, and then all of a sudden you have this like almost breakdown where the guitars just come da 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 da, and Yuka just hitting on those drums, hitting the cymbals, da da da, and just it sounds like a breakdown from like a metalcore band, and it goes on for quite some time, and it really is a fun part of the song. But my favorite piece, being the last part, which is called Love, is basically the part of this song that is most inspired by the poem Song of Myself by Walt Whitman. Basically, love is all it is just first-hand accounts of a person observing the world around them, realizing that this world could have been something great, but mankind had to taint everything in its path. And then you have first-hand accounts, second-hand accounts of other people, and all these different voices that are, coming over onto the microphone and sharing their story for this long, beautiful moment where it just feels like this is the moment of mankind. This is the ultimate piece of the song and of the album itself. Because now, it's all coming together. This wasn't just a fantastical story. This was a human story. And it's finally coming to an end. This album is a first for many reasons for Nightwish. One, they experimented with different styles. They made a concept record, although I would beg to differ that there's other albums that could be seen as concept records if you really dig deep enough. But another reason is there's an intro, outro, and an interlude in this album. You have the intro being Taika Talvi. You have the interlude being Arabesque. The album ends with an outro, which is also the titular song. Track 13 is called Imaginaerum. And it's literally just a composition of all the songs that you just heard being woven together in a 6-minute track. Just an instrumental medley of all the songs in this record as like our ending credits. And it's just a fun ride. You relive all the moments you heard in this record, and then it's gone. The journey is now complete. The old man has died. But that's the end of my review for Imaginaerum by Nightwish. But it's time to review the movie. So I got this in the mail this morning, and I was really excited to get this. I ordered this as well as a copy of Spirited Away, which is one of my favorite Studio Ghibli films. And when I got this, I opened it up and immediately looked at it, and I looked at the back. I don't know if you can see very well, but some of the words are not in English. I'm starting to realize I may have gotten a copy that's a German version. I'm thinking this is either a German version or a Dutch version. However, I was looking at the sort of like setup sort of piece where it tells you what versions of the movie you have, and it says that I have a way to have the audio be spoken to me in Dutch and English. And that's it. So the fact that I have the audio, I can technically see it, I can technically hear it in English, makes me happy. Because now I'm thinking to myself, I might be able to watch this without having to be able to try to figure out what they're saying. But at the same time, I really don't care if I can't watch this because this movie is so monumental to me. I would be perfectly fine if this was just a collector's item for me. I can't watch it, but I own it. I own it. But everything that you love about the album, you get it in the movie. You have the band performing some of their songs. You have the cast being very good at their roles. You even have Quinn Lord playing the main character, who, if you don't know Quinn Lord from anything, or if you know Quinn Lord from anything, you probably know him as Sam from Trick or Treat. Yes, folks. Little Sam grew up to be Thomas Whitman in Imaginaerum by Nightwish. Neat fact, my favorite movie is Imaginaerum, which has Quinn Lord as the main character. My brother's favorite horror film is Trick or Treat, which has Quinn Lord as the main character. I love it. But I came across this movie and this band and that album. One night, I was looking for a movie to watch. It was a Friday night, and I was scrolling on YouTube, and I came across a picture of what actually is on the disc. That picture was on a video, was the thumbnail for a video. And I thought to myself, that looks very interesting. I'll check it out and see if I like it. So that's what I did. I checked the movie out, and I fell in love with it. It became an instant favorite of mine. And to this day, it is a film that I will consider the greatest movie ever made. But not only do we have Quinn Lord as, a main character, we also have Marianne Farley, who is directing a film that I believe has already come out this year, but it is not streaming anywhere at the moment, but it's called Freemus, which is about abortion control and the women's rights to do whatever they want to do with their autonomy. Um, and I'm really excited to check that out because I know just from an interview I saw of Marianne Farley, she really wants this to be a movie that makes people talk about freedom and the fact that women should do what they need to do to their bodies, especially if they are too young to be pregnant. They are too young to give birth. Or if they cannot give birth because they have nowhere for it to go. They cannot provide a living for it. So it's a movie that will get people talking. And so I know there were good intentions for this film. So I'm really excited to check it out because, for one, it's Marianne Farley, who I thought she was incredible as Jim in this movie. But also, Francis X. McCarthy plays the old version of Thomas Whitman, whereas Quinn Lord plays the kid version, and Thomas Holopainen plays the middle-aged version, which I think was hilarious. So yeah, Francis X. McCarthy is in this. Marianne Farley is in this. Quinn Lord is in this. So it's a stacked film. Plus, you have Nightwish in this film. It's a perfect film. Also, Stobie Harhue, who directed this film. Apparently, this is his only film that he ever made. I really love this film, and I think that he did an incredible job with it. And I hope he goes on to make more films because if this film taught me anything, it's that we have great stuff coming our way if Stobie Harhue is in the production for it. If you're a fan of David Lynch, Tim Burton, or Neil Gaiman, you're going to love Imaginaerum. It's a Mark of the Dark guarantee. Well, that about does it for this review. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'm back now. May not be making videos all the time, but I promise that I will try my best to make reviews of movies, music, maybe books. I'm also collecting vinyls now, so maybe one day I'll show off my vinyls and my CDs. Have a day of that. But until then, that's Mark the Dark signing off. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and as always, stay metal, my dudes.